Steve from London asks the following question. I am a writer. As I become more and more established in the non-dual perspective, I find my motivation to write has dried up, as it feels like writing books in a dream and possibly a pointless activity to tell stories that must necessarily reflect duality. I still carry on with normal daily activities, but the thing I thought was my calling or true vocation, to write, has become challenged. I don't know any other solution than to wait for the answer to this apparent dilemma to just appear. Through no longer writing or just continuing to write, should the activity resume. I wonder whether you can shed any light on this. How does one combine creative endeavour with non-duality? Is it just a passing phase that it should seem pointless? And if I continue to write, does this imply that universal consciousness has something to say about things other than non-duality? Dear Steve, it may be that it is just a passing phase, that writing should seem pointless. That would be the case if writing is your true vocation. Then you'll go back to it. It is possible also that it isn't, in which case, as we become interested in the truth, everything that is not in line with it, with our spontaneity, with our true vocation, falls away. In due time, your true vocation, whether it is writing or something else, will find itself. But let's assume for the time being that your true vocation is about writing. You say that it feels like writing books in a dream and possibly a pointless activity to tell stories that must necessarily reflect duality. Of course, any story is in time and therefore reflects duality. But there are stories that point towards non-duality, towards our presence. Just as a work of art points towards beauty. The words of a teacher point towards truth. And a beautiful novel points towards this permanent presence that stands behind all appearances. I think, for instance, of Dostoevsky novels. Dostoevsky doesn't judge the good guys, the bad guys in his novels. It is because he has this not judging and, at the end of the day, loving take on his characters that he conveys an inkling of a higher dimension. He is a true novelist. He is simply a witness of the story. He is not involved in the story. A writer who writes fiction and who is a truth lover doesn't need to write novels that are explicit about the truth. He doesn't need to write a novel about spiritual teachers, etc. That would be a naive way to do so, to do it. as you live more and more deeply in your true nature, you find new ways of expressing your experience. It will be at the corner of a sentence. It would be a beautifully coined phrase. It would be a remark, like passing by, that would point to presence. Think of the novels by Marcel Proust, for instance. The plot, the story, is in fact irrelevant. It is simply a pretense to spend some time with Marcel Proust. And the novel which is written by a truth lover will be the same. Simply a pretense to spend some time with this presence, with the light from which the novel originates. So I hope it is your vocation. We need writers who are truth lovers. I hope my words will be understood and will go to the right place. Often I have found that when people fall in love with truth, it awakens in them the poetic fiber. They start writing poems. Some of them, most of them, unfortunately, don't have the literary skills, the mastery of the language that would enable them to truly write poetry. And the images that they use, the metaphors, are cliches. They don't come from a true creative inspiration. And they have the tendency to write spiritual poetry. But the true poetry, the true spiritual poetry, doesn't seem to be spiritual. Think of the haikus of the Japanese poets. They speak of the moon, of the ripples on the pond. They speak of the night, of the wind, of the mountains, of the moment, of the feeling, of the transparency, of the harmony. Think of Shakespeare in his playwrights. You feel the presence of the ocean, the presence of the immensity of the sky, of the stars, of the sun. You feel the cosmos. Think of Beethoven and his symphonies. Same thing. They don't need to speak about God or Advaita or non-duality or teachers, gurus and students and truth lovers. All of that is petty talk compared to the talk, compared to the music of the stars. Thank you for your question.